Hello and welcome to me working on the yet unnamed campaign, episode 3, where I'm naming things, but not the campaign, and I'm working on some NPCs, and I'm editing it so it is a tighter and more informative experience for you guys. So my process of naming things usually starts out with me using a number of random generators from fantasynamegenerators.com, and according to whatever background I use a number of different generators, be that fantasy name generator, be that a real name generator. And in this case, I'm generating the name for the main city, the Great City. And since it has been built and rebuilt on ruins, I've generated a number of Roman names, also some Western European city names. Once I have a selection of those, I'm going to change them around, alter them a bit, then put them in context. What is the city named now? How has the name evolved? What city stood there before? And at the end of this process, the great city is now the city of Ambec. The city was once called Ambiabeke, and before that Ambianarum, which was erected on the ruins of Zutmonde. And like that, I create names for locations, for NPCs, for factions. In this case, probably more names than I need, but I can fall back on these names when the characters will eventually explore the mega dungeon underneath the city. Also, after naming the city Ambec, which sounds very Western, Northern European, very German actually, I remembered that all of my players are German and I will be playing the game in German, so I should probably use German sounding names for all of the NPCs and faction. So the Astronomers Guild first became the Astrologers Guild, because they are not actually doing science of the stars, they are looking for signs and divine guidance in the stars, so they would be astrologers. In German that is Astrologengilde. Next, in the comments someone said that I could use Latin names, and that's what I did. So Ecclesia Divini Sanguinis is the Church of the Holy Blood, literally. So this will be the official name of the Church of Healing, which is Kirche der Heilung, or the Church of Blood, which is Blutkirche. I think that actually sounds pretty badass. The Court of Broken Branches would become Hof der zerbrochenen Zweige, or just the broken ones, die Zerbrochenen. And because they are stitched together, they are the stitched ones, they are the patched ones, die Geflickten, if you want to make them angry. I've added a few more factions. I've got the Weidmann's Loge, which is the Huntsman's Lodge. So this is actually the Adventurers Guild. Started out as the Hunters Guild, but they've broadened their member base and the services they provide. I've got a Mercenary Guild, the Freelancers, a no-nonsense Mercenary Guild, which I now have to translate as well. So I'm taking the free, which would be frei in German, and lands would either be Lanze, so that could be die freien Lanzen, which would literally mean freelancers, but And the time period where I think I'm setting this, I mean, this is a fantasy world, doesn't correspond one-to-one with historic time periods, but in my mind this is more like a 30-year war, maybe a bit earlier, with primitive firearms and mercenary bands. So that is, if I'm not mistaken, 16th, 17th century. And lance would not be the weapon of choice on the battlefield, especially not of a mercenary band. In that time, Swiss and German mercenaries were famous and infamous, and they wouldn't use lances, they would use pole arms, like a pike, for example, which would be Spieß in German. So about die freien Spieße, which actually sounds a bit funny, but I like it. I've got the Honorable House, which is the Thieves Guild, the Beggars Guild. They call themselves that as a mockery of the great houses who, in their mind, aren't very honorable at all, just oppress the weak, the meek. Das ehrenwerte Haus literally means a house worthy of honor. Not bad. They would have, of course, bynames that other people call them, like the rats, die Ratten. And of course the Thieves Guild. And with that I think I have a faction for most character concepts to belong to and get aid. So thieves can go to the Thieves Guild, fighters can go to the Mercenary Guild, everyone can go to the Adventurers Guild. Then I've got Court of Broken Branches for my witches and druids, and for my clerics I've got the Church, and for my wizards I've got the Astrologers Guild. We'll possibly need a few more factions as the game progresses, like a few of the great houses that vie for power within the city, but for now, to start with, this is more than enough actually. Okay, let's create an NPC. Let's create Hank. This is the characterization table from Worlds Without Numbers, because, as it says, it's part of the GM's common duty to generate NPCs. To generate a lot of NPCs. And these tables here help you do that, to give you a few ideas. Now, I already know the role of working title Hank, the Master of the Astrologers Guild. But I don't know what he looks like, why he's doing stuff, and I have to come up with his secrets. So let's roll a few times on these tables. 5. Laborious or rare emotions. Okay, that actually fits really well with an old astrologer. But I only want a few bullet points in here, not an elaborate description. So moves slowly and laborious. Next, clothing idiosyncrasies. What stands out about his clothing? D8. 6. Shows regular dirt and marks of their trade. Okay, he is an astrologer, so the dirt on his clothing would be ink stains. Ink stains on his sleeves. Also, marks of their trade. In my mind, which is in my unsorted ideas, by the way, astrologers wear sunglasses or even blindfolds to make their eyes more light sensitive. So when they're doing astrological observations, they see more. But high-ranking astrologers will need assistance to help them out in the everyday light because they can't see anything. They probably live in very dark quarters too if they are not wearing their blindfolds. And since Hank here is the master of the Astrologers Guild, he will wear a black silk blindfold. The first thing noticed apart from the blindfold: 1. Their voice is unusual and resting. I can work with that. And I think he's an old man. Old man, graying hair, thin beard. No, it's not graying, it's stark white at this point. I mean, if you really want to be brief in your description, just use a character from a series or movies. For example, I could write here like Dumbledore from the first Harry Potter movie and be done with it. Next up, motivation. Unlock the secret of the stars, that's a given, but above that, something maybe more personal. Burning ambitions. Who knows, I has to be involved in it. Let's roll. D6. 3. Their family and friends are aware of it. Their family and friends. For a man that old, that is probably children and grandchildren. Oh no, I'd say he's like an academic, a scholar, scientist, a wizard. So his pupils should be aware of it, not his children. As you see, you don't have to slavishly take what you roll on the tables. That is just inspiration. So his pupils are aware of his ambition. His pupils are, or better yet, his pupils share his vision. When was the ambition sparked? Right, that might be interesting. 2. An event while young inspired it. Okay. Was inspired when he saw a star fall from the sky when he was just a boy. What's the biggest immediate obstacle? And let's roll on the table. I don't think I actually need to. Let's see what we can come up. Number 5. They've suffered a recent considerable setback. Oh, that's interesting. That would go under dilemma. What could be a setback for someone who's looking at the stars for wisdom? I'll tell you what, he's gone blind. He's gone blind. Has to rely on his pupil score and the eyes on the inside. He is slowly going mad for sure. Things to help or hinder the ambition. Okay, why not? 17. Someone integral to helping them further it. Close friendships. Might be interested, but I don't think I need it at this point. Personal tragedies as well. Troubled romances. As you see, there's more in here to flesh out the NPC than you need right away. You can elaborate as you develop the NPC, as the campaign develops. But what I really need are secrets. Some of them. I think this one, which name I cannot pronounce, shows him visions in his sleep. Yeah, and he really needs a name. Now, to generate a name, as you've seen me use before, I like the fantasy name generator on fantasynamegenerators.com. Cosmic names. Now that's interesting. Let's give him Sirius as a middle name. Sirius would also not be so bad a first name, actually. Yeah, let's make Sirius his first name. And now I only have to look for a family name. Let's go with a Czech name then. Change a few letters around and make it a bit more unique. Sirius Kariniak. Yeah, this is not bad. So what would be his academic rank? Is he a magister, professor? Yeah, that's it. Dean, decan, head of a faculty. So he's Decan Sirius Kariniak, master of the Astrologer Guild. And I want about 2 NPCs for every major faction at this point. So let's copy and paste a few of these. And like this, you slowly begin to fill this out. At the beginning, you don't need everything, just what you need to use the NPC. Probably should make a video about circular world building. How about that? But this one, I think I'll end here and edit it nice and tight, so you don't actually see how much time staring blankly at the screen, muttering to myself while my brain works and I'm coming up with ideas.